Today we're talking about McLaren. 52 facts about the brand that brought Formula One technology to the road, built one of the greatest supercars ever, made carbon fiber its religion, and somehow turned lightweight obsession into an entire car company. Number 1. McLaren was founded by Bruce McLaren, a racing driver from New Zealand who was not just fast behind the wheel, but also deeply involved in engineering. That is important, because McLaren was never born as a normal car company. It was born from racing, experiments, danger, and the idea that speed should be solved like a math problem. Number 2. Bruce McLaren started his own racing team in the 1960s, and the company's entire personality still comes from that origin. Ferrari feels emotional. Lamborghini feels dramatic. Rolls-Royce feels royal. But McLaren feels like engineers locked themselves in a wind tunnel and refused to leave until physics gave up. Number 3. McLaren made its Formula One debut in 1966 at the Monaco Grand Prix. That sounds glamorous now, but back then McLaren was still building itself into a serious force. It did not arrive as a polished empire. It arrived as a racing team with ambition, talent, and the confidence to challenge giants. Number 4. Bruce McLaren died in 1970 while testing a Can-Am car at Goodwood. He was only 32 years old. That could have ended everything. Instead, the team survived and eventually became one of the most successful names in motorsport. McLaren's story is not just speed. It is also loss, obsession, and refusing to stop. Number 5. McLaren became dominant in Can-Am racing, a series known for insane cars with very few limits. If Formula One was technical, Can-Am was basically engineers asking, "How much power is too much?" And McLaren was terrifyingly good at that question. Number 6. McLaren's first true road car legend was the McLaren F1. It was released in the 1990s, but even today people still talk about it like a sacred object. That car did not just become famous because it was fast. It became famous because it felt like one of the purest supercar ideas ever built. Before we continue, if you enjoy videos like this, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. These videos take a lot of time, research, editing, and money to make, and your support really helps us keep going. Thank you. Number 7. The McLaren F1 has a central driving position. The driver sits in the middle, with 2 passenger seats slightly behind on each side. That is completely insane for a road car, but it makes perfect sense in McLaren language. Why put the driver on one side when the perfect position is obviously in the center? Number 8. The F1 was built around a carbon fiber monocoque, making it one of the most important road cars in carbon fiber history. Today, carbon tubs are normal in hypercars. Back then, this was a huge statement. McLaren basically said, "We are not building a car like everyone else. We are building a race car idea with license plates." Number 9. The McLaren F1 used a naturally aspirated BMW V12 engine. That is one of the funniest parts of the car's story. McLaren made the ultimate British supercar, then put a German masterpiece behind the driver. And somehow, it became one of the greatest engines ever placed in a road car. Number 10. The engine bay of the McLaren F1 uses gold foil as heat shielding. Not fake gold color. Actual gold. That sounds like luxury nonsense, but it was there because gold is excellent at reflecting heat. Only McLaren could make something scientifically useful and still accidentally look like billionaire jewelry. Number 11. The McLaren F1 held the title of the fastest production car in the world for years. It reached a top speed of over 240 miles per hour, which was ridiculous for a car from the 1990s. And the wild part is that it did this without turbochargers, without hybrid boost, and without modern electronic magic. Number 12. The McLaren F1 was famously developed with almost no compromise. Gordon Murray wanted it light, pure, naturally aspirated, manual, and driver-focused. Modern hypercars often chase numbers. The F1 chased the feeling that every gram, every shape, and every mechanical choice actually mattered. Number 13. The F1 was never supposed to be a race car, but it became one anyway. McLaren created the F1 GTR, and it went racing with shocking success. That is how good the original platform was. The road car was so extreme that turning it into a race car almost felt inevitable. Number 14. The McLaren F1 GTR won the 24 Hours of Le Mans in 1995. That is one of the craziest achievements in supercar history. A road car-based machine went to one of the hardest races on Earth and won overall. McLaren did not just build a poster car. It built a legend that could survive 24 hours of punishment. Number 15. McLaren's obsession with carbon fiber started long before its modern road cars. In Formula One, the McLaren MP4/1 brought a carbon composite chassis to the sport in 1981. That changed safety, stiffness, and design forever. McLaren did not just use carbon fiber. It helped make carbon fiber the future. Number 16. Ron Dennis helped turn McLaren into a precision machine. Under his leadership, the team became famous for discipline, cleanliness, technology, and almost obsessive attention to detail. McLaren's whole image became less garage full of racers and more secret laboratory that happens to win races. Number 17. McLaren's headquarters, the McLaren Technology Center, looks like a villain base from a sci-fi movie. It has a huge lake, clean glass architecture, and an atmosphere that feels too perfect to be normal. Ferrari has emotion. McLaren has architecture that looks like it requires fingerprint access. Number 18. McLaren has worked with some of the greatest Formula One drivers ever: Ayrton Senna, Alain Prost, Niki Lauda, Mika Hakkinen, Lewis Hamilton, and more. That driver list alone is insane. McLaren is not just a brand with racing history. It is a brand connected to entire eras of Formula One mythology. Number 19. Ayrton Senna became one of the most important names in McLaren history. His years with McLaren produced some of the most iconic moments in Formula One. That is why the road car called the McLaren Senna carries so much weight. It is not just a name. It is a responsibility. Number 20. The McLaren Senna is not pretty in the traditional way. It looks like it was designed by airflow itself. Giant wing, cuts, vents, exposed aero details. Everything is there for performance. McLaren basically looked at beauty and said, "Can it generate downforce?" Number 21. The Senna was built to be brutal on track. It is road legal, but it does not feel like a normal luxury supercar. It feels like a racing machine with just enough legality to make the government uncomfortable. Some cars try to make speed comfortable. The Senna makes speed feel serious. Number 22. The Senna has glass sections in the doors on some versions, so you can literally see the road rushing below you. That is such a McLaren detail. Most brands would ask, "Is that necessary?" McLaren asks, "Will it make the driver feel more like they are inside a weapon?" Number 23. The McLaren P1 was part of the famous hybrid hypercar Holy Trinity with the Porsche 918 Spider and Ferrari LaFerrari. The P1 combined a twin-turbo V8 with electric assistance, creating huge performance and instant response. It was McLaren proving that hybrid technology did not have to be boring. It could be terrifying. Number 24. The P1 had active aerodynamics, including a rear wing that could move to create more downforce or reduce drag. That meant the car was constantly changing its shape to handle speed. A normal car has bodywork. The P1 had body language. Number 25. The P1 also had systems inspired by Formula One thinking, including an electric boost button-style philosophy and drag reduction ideas. It made the driver feel like they were not just driving a car, but managing a machine with different attack modes. That is peak McLaren, made going fast feel like operating equipment. Number 26. The McLaren Speedtail brought back the central driving position idea from the F1. 3 seats, driver in the middle, insane aerodynamic shape. But where the F1 felt like the ultimate analog supercar, the Speedtail felt like a private jet that accidentally stayed on the road. Number 27. The Speedtail was built for extremely high-speed grand touring. It was not just about cornering or lap times. It was about moving through the world with outrageous speed and smoothness. McLaren called it a Hyper GT, which is basically a way of saying, "This is for people who think normal supercars are too practical." Number 28. The Speedtail shape is incredibly long and smooth. It looks almost liquid compared with other McLarens. The whole car feels like it was designed by stretching a raindrop until it became expensive. Number 29. The McLaren MP4-12C was the car that restarted McLaren's modern road car business in 2011. After the F1, McLaren did not immediately become a normal supercar manufacturer. The 12C was the moment McLaren returned and said, "We are going to fight Ferrari every day now." Number 30. The 12C used a carbon fiber monocell chassis, which became a core part of modern McLaren road cars. Instead of saving carbon tubs only for ultra-rare hypercars, McLaren made carbon structure part of its brand identity. If Ferrari sells soul and Lamborghini sells drama, McLaren sells lightweight engineering. Number 31. Modern McLarens often use dihedral doors. They open upward and outward, giving almost every model supercar theater. It is one of those features that instantly makes the car feel special. Even parked, a McLaren can look like it is showing off. Number 32. The 720S became one of McLaren's most important modern cars because it delivered absurd performance in a regular production supercar package. It was so fast that people started comparing it to hypercars, even though it was not supposed to be McLaren's absolute top model. Number 33. The headlights of the 720S are also air intakes. That is one of the coolest McLaren design tricks. What looks like a styling choice is actually part of the airflow strategy. On a McLaren, even the face is doing aerodynamic work. Number 34. The 720S has a cabin canopy design that makes it look almost like a fighter jet. McLaren cares a lot about visibility, which is unusual for supercars. Many exotic cars make you feel trapped in a bunker. A McLaren often feels like sitting under a glass bubble attached to rockets. Number 35. The 765LT took the 720S idea and made it more extreme. More power, less weight, sharper response, more track focus. LT stands for Longtail, a name connected to McLaren racing history. In McLaren language, Longtail does not just mean longer. It means more serious, more focused, and less interested in your comfort. Number 36. The Longtail name goes back to the McLaren F1 GTR Longtail. That car was created to be more competitive in racing, with aerodynamic changes and a more extreme personality. So when McLaren puts LT on a modern road car, it is borrowing from one of its most serious racing chapters. Number 37. The 600 LT had top exit exhausts, which became one of its signature features. Flames could shoot from the top like the car was personally angry at the sky. Some cars have exhaust pipes. The 600 LT has a warning sign. Number 38. McLaren cars are famous for feeling extremely light and responsive. They are not usually about heavy luxury or massive engines. The whole idea is low weight, strong structure, sharp steering, and huge power-to-weight performance. A McLaren does not want to feel like a muscle car. It wants to feel like a scalpel with turbochargers. Number 39. McLaren's design language often looks smooth, technical, and almost alien. A Lamborghini looks like it wants to start a fight. A McLaren looks like it was grown in a wind tunnel. That difference matters. McLaren's aggression is less emotional and more aerodynamic. Number 40. McLaren has had reliability criticism from owners and reviewers over the years. That is part of the brand's reputation too. People love the performance, the design, and the engineering, but they also joke that owning one can require patience. McLaren gives you supercar magic, and sometimes supercar anxiety. Number 41. The McLaren GT was created to be a more usable Grand Tourer, but of course, it was still a McLaren. That means it could carry luggage and be comfortable, while still being ridiculously fast. McLaren tried to make a practical car, and the result was still something that looks illegal in a hotel parking lot. Number 42. The McLaren Artura became the brand's first series production high-performance hybrid supercar. It uses a V6 hybrid powertrain, which marked a major change from McLaren's long-running V8 formula. That was a big step, lighter, electrified, more efficient, but still built around speed. Number 43. The Artura also introduced a new carbon fiber architecture for McLaren's hybrid future. That matters because McLaren is not just adding batteries to old ideas. It is rebuilding the structure around electrification. The company is trying to make hybrid performance feel like a McLaren, not like an apology. Number 44. McLaren's cars often use hydraulic suspension systems instead of traditional anti-roll bars on certain models. That helped cars like the 12C and 720S combine comfort with crazy handling. This is the kind of engineering choice McLaren loves: complicated, clever, and invisible until you drive it hard. Number 45. McLaren does not usually chase all-wheel drive the way some rivals do. Many McLarens are rear-wheel drive, even with massive power. That makes them more dramatic and more demanding. McLaren could make things easier. But easier is not always the McLaren answer. Number 46. McLaren's F1 team has won multiple Formula One drivers and constructors championships. The team has been part of some of the most famous rivalries in racing, including Prost versus Senna. McLaren is not a supercar brand that borrowed racing for marketing. It is a racing brand that eventually became a supercar company. Number 47. The McLaren Honda era in Formula One produced legendary success in the late 1980s and early 1990s. The 1988 McLaren MP4/4 is one of the most dominant F1 cars ever. That car helped create the image of McLaren as a team where engineering, drivers, and ruthless execution could become almost unbeatable. Number 48. McLaren also worked with Mercedes for years in Formula One and road cars. The Mercedes-Benz SLR McLaren came from that relationship. It was front-engined, supercharged, dramatic, and very different from the mid-engine McLarens we usually think of today. It was like McLaren briefly borrowed old-money Grand Tourer energy and added carbon fiber. Number 49. The SLR McLaren had side exhausts and a long hood that made it feel completely different from later McLaren road cars. It was not as pure as the F1 and not as surgical as the 720S, but it became its own strange icon. It is one of the few cars that feels both Mercedes and McLaren at the same time. Number 50. McLaren's newest generation keeps pushing carbon fiber, hybrid technology, and aerodynamics harder. Cars like the Artura and W1 show that McLaren is not trying to become nostalgic. It wants to keep turning racing ideas into road cars, even as the definition of performance changes. Number 51. The funny thing about McLaren is that it can be both legendary and weirdly underrated. Ferrari has the emotion. Lamborghini has the noise. Porsche has the cult. But McLaren has some of the most serious engineering in the supercar world, and somehow still feels like the brand only car nerds fully understand. Number 52. McLaren matters because it makes speed feel scientific. The best McLarens are not just fast in a straight line. They feel like every surface, every carbon panel, every intake, every suspension setting, and every gram was argued over by people who hate waste. McLaren is not perfect. But when it gets a car right, it feels like physics briefly worked for them.